You know how, as well as anyone, how Silicon Valley hires. Is it possible this practice was really widespread, or is this a Google thing? What do we know?
What we're talking about is what they settled with in the Justice Department in 2010. And Adobe, Google, Apple, Intuit, and Intel were all involved. And they determined that over a period of a few years, they were all kind of in on this agreement not to poach employees from one another.
And the ultimate effect, of course, is holding down salaries, keeping people from being free agents and getting the most for their work.
Yes, and now the employees were still able to apply directly to these companies or be referred. So to decrease blame, they have said that these employees were recruited from company to company, but when it comes to those great salaries or those counteroffers that you see now, now that they're no longer able to do that, those weren't around in 2006, 2007.
Now, Sheryl Sandberg is a big name now, COO of Facebook, fast-growing companies. She was a big shot at Google. And was known to be really tough there and really competitive in everything that she does. Is it important that her name surfaces? What do we know about her time there and what she was doing at Google?
Yeah, she was managing the online sales and operations group, in charge of a lot of Google's revenue and growth, both in headcount and in the company. So there was no doubt that she was very involved with recruiting practices. Now that she was at Facebook, she's been even called in her profile in the New Yorker persona non grata to Google because she was poaching a lot. And an anonymous Google executive said that she was stealing executives from Google. So she's no stranger to this.
It's interesting because in Silicon Valley there's such a culture of going from one company to the next or going from one startup to another startup. And yet it's interesting that these companies that are such a product of the culture of Silicon Valley have a very different look on how employees should be acquired and their mobility of those employees.
This goes down to one email exchange that the Department of Justice surfaced between Eric Schmidt and Steve Jobs in about 2007. And Steve Jobs had gotten wind that one of his executives had been recruited by Google. He wrote Eric an email saying, "I'd like for this not to happen anymore." And Eric said, "Sure, no problem." They fired the recruiter, and that deal no longer went through, so that person wasn't hired. So top down, those employment collusion practices were put in effect.